Hello viewers, welcome back to Motor India Trans Report. Today we have the Managing Director, Mr. Rahul Agarwal of Coolx Cold Chain. Rahul, welcome to Motor India Trans Report.
Thank you.
Rahul, Coolx has been closely associated with the pharma industry for over 2 decades. You have been constantly upgrading, revising, and reinventing the wheel when it comes to the cold chain segment. Take us through your recent partnership with the India's largest industrial and logistics sector, the real estate developer Indospace. Take us through this partnership and what do you aim to achieve through it?
Sure. Thank you, Rajesh. Basically, Coolx had started its operation in 2012 as an sort of carve out of Boruka Logistics, which is our parent company. And as a group, we have been associated with the healthcare industry for the last 23 years. And we had basically been providing them the trucking services in the primary transportation leg for medicines in the parent company, which then followed by the temperature control transportation in 2012 with the formation of Coolx Cold Chain Limited. So again, both the companies are controlled by the same promoter. So it is just a extension of our business offerings. And so Coolx had started with a small fleet of 8 reefer trucks and 4 cold rooms, as we call it. So the idea was to offer a express parcel service in the cold chain space, which at that time did not exist. So while a lot of the logistics players were talking about offering this service, but nobody had really started it. And we wanted to do this for the vaccine and the insulin kind of product movement, which is the 2 to 8 degrees range. And this service started off very well. It was very well appreciated by the industry, and it continues to run till date. So we've been almost 8 years into this express parcel cold chain service, and the number of cold rooms grew from 4 to 9 over the period. So these cold rooms act as hubs, for the hub and spoke movements, and they are basically transit warehouses where the goods get consolidated and then move on for the next journey. Typically, a hub and spoke model followed by logistics industry globally, the same practice. Then we found in the year 2014 that there was a lot of demand for movement in truckloads. So whether it was a 2 to 8 degree movement or whether it was the upcoming segment plus 15 to 25 degrees segment, which would be the bulk of the movement in the coming years. And hence we decided to expand our fleet, and we have grown from almost 8 trucks in 2012 to 300 vehicles in 2020, which makes us probably, as we are told, the largest temperature control fleet in the pharma sector today. And so, yes, we are the market leaders there, and we are dealing with almost 90 of the top 100 pharma companies, giving them end-to-end services in the cold chain transportation. We've also ventured into the secondary transportation model, which is basically movement of goods from the pharma warehouses to the stockists and distributors in city. And we've been doing that for a couple of companies in the last 1 year as a experimental model. And now we're looking at scaling up this, pan India. So this will be a second sort of business offering from the trucking part, and which would then enable us to be an end-to-end, logistics service provider for the pharma industry, taking care of both the primary leg and the secondary leg. So once we got into that, the idea was, what is the next step to take, and the logical conclusion was to get into warehousing, because that was the missing piece in this whole pharma supply chain. So the typical model that the pharma industry follows is that they have one or two central warehouses where they consolidate the cargo from the various manufacturing sites, and then from there on they move to the CFAs, which are in state, and then from the CFAs they move to their customers, which is the stockists and distributors, which is where the actual sale takes place of the medicine from the pharma company. The ownership changes to the stockists, who then onward move it to the institutions and the retail shops. So this is basically the whole pharma leg. And the last part, which is the movement of goods from stockists to retailers or stockists to institution, is a very trade controlled, and it's a very regulated space where typically the prerogative is of the stockist or the retailer, whom to use and how to use, and it's a very fragmented model, B2C typically. So which is where we really don't want to put our fingers into at this stage. But yes, up to the stockist, up to the distributor, we want to be a market leader. We want to have our own infrastructure. We want to sort of create a pan India presence on that. And this is why we started ideating about maybe building one warehouse on our own, and trying to experiment with that model, getting in some clients to walk in. And that's when we realized that the way the pharma warehousing exists today, and what is the wish list of the pharma companies, there's a huge gap between that existing supply and the projected demand, predominantly because organizations like the WHO, the United Nations, Ministry of Health from India have come out with a lot of guidelines on how pharma goods should be stored and transported. So when we talk about the transportation and storage, we talk about good distribution practice, or GDP. And these draft guidelines have been published by the Ministry of Health in 2012 and again in 2018, with a more detailed, explanation on what the GDP guideline really means. Uh, then again, we talk about GWP, which is the good warehousing practice, and that's how ideally a pharma warehouse should be. Now, what happens today is that most of the pharma companies have their own standalone warehousing, sort of an in silo where it's one company, one activity. But what we are trying to create is a multi-client facility, which means that we can house more than 10 customers in the same facility, segregated by their independent chambers, so that the regulatory and compliance part is taken care of. And of course, we are building warehouses of very large scale. So when you look at typical cold storages and typical warehousing in India, you have boxes which have about 5,000, 10,000, 12,000 pallets each. The warehouses that we are building are each of 40,000 pallets, so which makes it individually also the largest standalone cold chain capacity or facility in the country. And we are looking at building 11 such facilities. So we would probably have a total capacity of 500,000 pallet positions, making us the largest sort of cold chain warehousing company in this part of the in this part of Asia. And the rollout plan is to be doing this over the next 3 to 4 years. Obviously, a lot of time has gone into the designing of this warehouse. We had a lot of pharma experts on our panel who helped us sort of create that model. It went through dozens of iterations over the last 1 year. And we had Indospace, which is one of the largest gray retail estate player, who sort of approached us, and we got into a discussion, and it was decided that Indospace would sort of invest into this entire project in terms of building the warehouses, bringing in the land, ensuring that the structure is grade A plus, and to build world class pharma sort of distribution centers. And that's where we are. So we are looking at a very huge investment from Indospace. We are getting a lot of support from the pharma industry, because this is the right time when they feel that they should move into more hygienic, more compliant facilities, especially keeping the COVID-19 in mind. And a lot of the business continuities have been disrupted in this period, even for pharma companies, where due to COVID of the staff, warehouses had to be virtually shut down for certain periods. Logistics was not operational for a long time during this initial period of lockdown. Uh, but yes, because the government of India was very proactive during this COVID period, they had given pharma and pharma ancillaries a free hand to sort of operate during this COVID period. So there was very limited restriction, and the pharma activities, while they were initially disturbed for the period of month of April, but we were back on track from mid-May onwards, and we continue to be back on track. The fleet is fully operational. The vaccines and the medicines are moving, and currently we are gearing up for handling of the COVID-19 vaccines, which is coming in probably a -20-degree scenario, which is a challenge for Indian pharma companies, because they have not really operated in that range, and the sort of infrastructure has to be created.
Correct.
So we have been ideating with the pharma companies in the last couple of weeks on how to do this, and we have come out with this sort of rental model for the cold rooms, where the pharma companies can sort of hire these cold rooms on demand basis, use it during this life of the COVID-19, and then give it back to us. So it's more of an OPEX model rather than a CAPEX model, and this substantially brings down the supply chain cost of every vial, where we are able to bring it down to less than 1 rupee a vial in terms of the end-to-end distribution, which is a first of its kind for this industry.
Huge saving.
So we are working on a per unit cost, and this is what really works for the pharma industry. This is what has sort of changed their perspective on how supply chains can actually change the way to do things, or as we have all been talking about the new normal. So probably this is our little bit of contribution to doing that. One of the things about this warehousing is that apart from it being a world-class facility, we are using completely CFC-free chemicals in the construct of the warehouse. So the OD, or the ozone depletion, is virtually zero.
Okay.
which is not the case in most of the warehouses today. So this is again, sort of
Environment friendly.
new
Very.
sort of concept that we brought in. Is going to be absolutely 100% environment, because right from the chemicals that we use for the paneling or the refrigerants that we are using for the cooling are completely CFC free, and they're completely OD0. Also, we are going to be having 100% solar backup on the rooftop, so it's going to be a fully green warehouse. It's going to be sort of energy efficient warehouse. We are also using thicker sort of grade of insulation, which obviously means that the consumption of electricity will substantially drop by almost 25 to 30%
Okay.
to that of a normal cold storage warehouse. So we are also energy efficient, highly energy efficient, and obviously because the scale of the warehouse is 4x of the standard warehouses that you have in India, the cost of construction or the cost of construction per pallet is almost 25 to 30% lower than industry, and that also gives us a very strong competitive edge in our ability to provide low cost world class facilities to the pharma industry, and also create a strong entry barrier for competition, because they would need to then obviously scale up to warehouse of that size to be able to compete with us in terms of the pricing itself. And coupled with our 2 decades plus of the pharma experience and pharma knowledge, the end to end becomes a reality today, that we would be then able to pick up products from a pharma manufacturing site and go straight up to the stockist under our complete channel flow. So the pharma company does not have to invest time and money and sort of do a lot of activities handling multiple vendors from multiple warehouses, multiple transporters, multiple so many distribution partners. We would be end partner for the pharma industry.
Very nice. Very nice, Rahul.
So
In fact,
that's what our sort of
sure, you gave a really good
rollout.
overview of how things are panning out at your end. Few questions in terms of number of trucks that you have. You said you now have 300 trucks. What are these trucks type? What are the GVW, and which are
That's
these
right.
the GVW and the carrying
So
capacity of the vehicle?
we have the multi-axle trucks, the 10 wheelers.
Mhm.
Yes. So we have about 80 of these 10 wheelers, which can carry about 50 metric tons of medicine. Now the salient feature of this particular vehicle is that these are multi-temp, so dual chamber, dual temp vehicles, which are again a unique modeling in India.
Correct.
And in the recent trials, we have found that these vehicles can also handle -20 and 228 in the same vehicle. So that's again a very first of its kind, very
Okay.
unique,
Okay.
and that gives us a very strong positioning in the market. Then we have another about you can say 180 trucks, which are the six wheelers, which are the 9-ton carrying capacity for trucks.
Okay.
And then the rest are small vehicles, which are 14 feet and 10 feet, which are ideally for the secondary movement in city. So we have a mix of all, and that's what enables us to do an end-to-end sort of service to the client.
In the beginning, you also mentioned about the first mile,
I'm losing connectivity.
where you have where you spoke about how you handle the first mile, and now that you are also handling the last mile with warehousing and end-to-end solution, how do you manage things like client acquisition, their raw materials, then supplying it to the factories, and then back to your warehouse, and then to the distributors and the stockists? Take me through the entire chain. How do you manage? What are the skills that
Sure.
you have in your workers and at your management? Please take us through the
So
process.
yes, so the biggest asset that we have today is our team, because we have a very large team of almost 150 employees working for us. So there are three ways that we have split in our team into. One is the management team, which sits out of the head office, which includes overall management and finance. And then we have a operations team where the headquarters is based out of our hub at Bhiwandi, which is a large hub. And that team takes care of fleet management, the maintenance, and overall operational activities. And then we have the branches, which are roughly about 24 locations. We have our own branches and our own members, on an average of about 2 to 3 members per branch. So these are the branches which actually do the execution of the work. When the order comes in, they send the staff to sort of go along with the vehicle to have the vehicle loaded, to ensure that the temperature is in range, at the time, the telematics is working fine, the driver is all taken care of, everyone's healthy and safe, and the goods have been stacked properly, and then now the truck has been sealed and ready to move. So it's basically a system where we get into long-term contracts with the pharma clients, and the contract which specifically mention which legs of the journey Coolex is part of, and so that would involve some movement of raw material to the plants, which includes API, which is again a temperature controlled movement, It would then involve movement of finished goods once ready from the plants to the central warehouses, and then it would also involve the movement of the finished goods from the central warehouse to the CFAs.
Okay.
And now the last leg that we've introduced is from the CFAs to the stockists. So we have been mapped in the entire chain. The challenge is that the demand is much more higher than the supply today, and obviously, so we are scaling up as the time comes. We are waiting for the right opportunity to scale up our fleet, and we're looking at probably going up to 1,000 vehicles in the next 2 years.
Got it.
So
Got it.
again, that would be the largest cold chain fleet in the country.
Yes. Okay.
And of course, the warehouses which are coming in will only augment our overall business offerings.
Got it. Got it. So I see your positioning as one-stop solution for the transportation, warehousing, and also the last mile deliveries. Correct. So does that also include innovation in terms of packaging when you also try to maintain the temperature,
Absolutely.
because that will reduce the deterioration of the product, and that has been the challenge
Yes,
for the
absolutely.
industry. A few words on that. How do you enhance packaging or maintain the packaging? Take care of the process and the products that you carry.
Yeah. So see, what is really important is the design of the vehicle or the warehouse that you go into. So the biggest challenge that the pharma companies have is that when these AC units break down or vehicles break down in transit, which can happen because these are mechanical items, and no matter how much you maintain them and how much you take care of them or you do preventive maintenance, there is always a chance that these units can fail because simply the belt has snapped, or there is adulteration which has gone into the fuel. Those kind of things do happen on the road.
Hmm.
So there is a very strong backup plan. There's a very strong continuity plan which has been built over years of experience and with the hand holding of the pharma companies. Because you see, the pharma companies generally select those vendors who are open to sort of adopting to their requirements and customizing their needs. So what is important is the construct of the vehicle, which which is in line with the business continuity plan or the backup plans that we have, or the contingency plans as we call it. And this would involve more preventive maintenances of the AC unit and the telematics. This would involve a thicker insulation, so that at a time when the unit breaks down, the holding time of the box is much longer. That gives you time to create a backup. So we have a very strong maintenance and fleet team, which is always available on call for any contingency. The MIS
Right.
team is continuously interacting with both these teams, giving them updates on where a vehicle is being parked or it's slowing down, or there's a AC unit which is showing excursion in temperature or near to excursion, so that corrective action should be taken. So
Yes.
it's a continuous process. It's an ongoing process, and over the last 8 years of handling cold chain, we've learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I think we are amongst the best in the industry who can handle these activities.
Very nice. So, Rahul, in fact, you also touched upon, how, lack of quality orientation and training in this
Yes.
pharmaceutical, industry has been the key challenge for the boom of the cold chain and the warehousing sector, particularly the pharma sector. Would you want to highlight that how you have trained your workforce, or what qualities that they come with that they can take care of these things? Of course, a lot of things are now being automated, but still awareness and knowledge about the things to do right helps
Yes.
sail in a tough time. Your experience
Absolutely.
and your training program for workforce at Coolx.
So see, since we have been doing, the distribution or the sort of logistics for pharma companies for last 23 years, we have found that, the pharma distribution teams from the customer side have been very proactive in sort of wanting to train our people.
Okay.
So there is a hand-holding process, and obviously because, if you look at pharma, it's a very high-value product that you deal with. It's about human life, so,
True.
you can save somebody's life by doing it the right way. And this is where the pharma industry is very selective on choosing vendors, be it a manufacturer, be it a packaging box supplier, be it a transporter, be it a warehousing partner. There are lots of guidelines and SOPs that go in, and there is a continuous audit process that the pharma company takes on us. Especially now that we are in the cold chain, we find that most of the leading pharma companies would audit us at least twice a year, in terms of what we have said in the past, are we following that, what kind of data are we maintaining, what kind of sort of corrections we are doing in the processes when we learn that there's something gone wrong. So the training is continuous. One of the other things that has also worked very well for us is our vendor partners. So when you look at air conditioning, we are buying a lot of air conditioning from Carrier Aircon, which is again a world leader. We are buying our trucks from Tata and Eicher, which are again the best in class in our country.
Right. Right.
We are taking tire Bridgestone. We have a long agreement with Bridgestone. Again, Bridgestone is one of the best brands in the world. We buy fuel directly from IOCL. So again, it's a principal to principal sort of transaction. So we have a process where on a weekly or a fortnightly basis there's a compulsory training session which is done by the vendors partner to our staff with activity or some new learning curve where there was something that went wrong and how do we fix that. And that's where the vendor partners help us, like when it comes to tire pressure, that's a very important factor because the entire product is depending on the performance of the tire. So it becomes an integral part. So training the drivers on maintaining the right pressure, monitoring it. Now Bridgestone is also talking about putting tire pressure monitors inside the tire wheels, so that in real time we would know what's happening. So we are going in very sort of systematic and very planned manner to sort of keep upgrading our telematics to sort of keep receiving the data, keep monitoring the data, keep improvising. So there are a lot of metrics that are in our system which talks about whether it's fleet maintenance, whether there is a repeat breakdown. So let's say I have maintained a vehicle or I've repaired a vehicle for a certain problem, and within 3 months of time the same problem recurs in the same vehicle.
Mm.
So those parameters also get monitored, because again we are dealing with very high value products. We are dealing with very expensive assets. I mean, typically you can buy a truck for about 14 to 15 lakhs. In the reefer segment, that same vehicle comes for about 35 lakhs. So you have to be very careful about how it's a three-way process. There is the client who's training us, there's the vendors who's training us, and then our training team also learns and forward trains our employees on a regular basis. So there's an internal training process also. We are ISO 9000, 14,000, 18,000 compliant. We hold the FSSAI license. We are now getting into GDP licensing. We have the CTPAT licensing. So we are covered with all the sorts of documentary proofs that need to showcase our ability to handle these medicines.
Got it. Got it. So overall, I understand that you are building, robust quality as well as your compliance to the system is, very top notch. Your data
Yes.
integrity, you take, you, make logs of the, data that you get. A lot of temperature is being
Yes.
monitored. You use a lot of, technology across your supply chain. But despite all this,
Yes.
you may have observed some external factors that disrupt the process. Something like COVID-19, which everyone is battling with. Are there also any other external factors that you came across in the last 8 years and that you solved, or something like even uh, the you spoke about the active pharmaceutical ingredients. That was one of the things that happened. So see, there are a lot of external factors that hamper the growth of a business. Anything specific that you would want to highlight and how you overcome the challenge and focus more to get things back on track?
Well, so see, when you talk about the COVID-19, it was one of the big disruptors, and there was a lot of fear factor amongst the employees also, that they wanted to either stay back in their villages or they wanted to go back home or they wanted to work from home.
Yeah.
And yes, we matured and evolved along this process by taking a lot of input from the staff, listening to them, listening to their concerns, sort of giving them the comfort that you're free to work from home and we do not have a challenge with that. And we found that after 15 days they themselves said that, look, now we fed up of sitting at home and we would rather come to the office and work. So, and the same was for the drivers, because
Oh.
when the driver would go to the village, he would say that my sarpanch is not allowing me to go out of the village because वो पूरे परिवार को हो जाएगा, गांव को हो जाएगा COVID. And so we were actually also interacting with these village heads,
Got it.
and
Oh,
we were
okay.
sort of telling them that how we are taking our own internal precautionary processes to because the driver's life is more important than the vehicle. And we were able to get a lot of support from these village heads because they saw to the reason and they supported us, and we were able to sort of get back on track very quickly. So this is as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. And as a wise man said that a big challenge throws a great opportunity.
So you've seen a lot of changes, changing patterns, changing in terms of customers' demand. So how do you think, or what is your outlook for next couple of years in terms of the entire ecosystem for pharma cold chain industry? You have seen it all. You are scaling up your operations. Any medium to long term plan that you would want to highlight?
See, what had happened during this COVID-19 period was that a lot of the prescription medicines had stopped happening because doctors are not prescribing medicines, right? So a lot of pharma companies saw dips in sale because of this whole process. And it's natural because when the doctors are not there, you would generally, when you have a cough and cold or a small viral, you just do a consultancy on phone, and you go and buy the medicine. So was that people were not really buying medicines unless it was really needed during this period, and that's what also was an impact. You would have seen pharma sales being hit for a certain period of time during this whole last year. Now what has happened is that the whole concept of prevention being better than cure is kicking in, and now people are moving towards taking medicines as a preventive for even the smallest of problems that they're facing. So we, with the COVID-19 vaccine, other medicine sales also going up substantially in the next 2-3 years, and that's good for the infrastructure that we've created. So see, I think the next couple of years is a good period to be in, because the demand is going to go through the roof. I mean, not just because of the COVID vaccine coming in, but because of the fact that people are going to be a lot more health conscious, and they would be probably spending more time on focusing on better health. So it would mean obviously more need for medicines, more need for preventive activities. And yes, I think healthcare is going to be a very prominent sector especially in India, with the next phase of the vaccine trials going on road. And we feel that the next 3-4 years will be a golden period for the pharma industry.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Rahul, for your time. I really feel now
Sure.
that whole industry, as you mentioned, and as you gave a overview of the picture of the pharmaceutical industry. I think people are now moving from planning just from as per their convenience to planning for what the market actually requires, and that
Absolutely.
model for pharmaceutical industry is must at the current time that we are in.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, see, this COVID has shown that no matter what kind of business continuity plans you have, you could be totally sort of washed out, and you could be left in the lurch.
Yeah,
So obviously people are going to build stronger systems as backups to sort of have an alternate to the normal situation.
true,
And
true.
that's what the new normal would mean, that you are completely day, and people were just stranded. So yes, people will build stronger networks, stronger backup, and I think we are very resilient, and we would come stronger.
Sure. Wishing you all the best, Rahul.